This is PlayerVsPlayer. It's an application that I developed that works along with Hold'em Manager 2. It helps me keep track of how I'm doing against other players, and it's basically a souped up version of the versus player report in Hold'em Manager. One thing it does allow you to do is graph the winnings versus a particular player. So you could select any two players here, and it'll show you how much this player has won versus this player and only this player. A couple things to keep in mind: it doesn't subtract rake from winnings, and if you purge your hands, you'll either be missing a lot of hands or just have no information in this chart at all. It has a few more features, so let's go over them. After you do the initial setup where you just point it to your Hold'em Manager database and your PostgreSQL database, you're ready to go. And you can select the site you play on from this drop-down list, and it'll start to load all the players that you have hands on in your database. All the hands here for the video, I wound up anonymizing the players just for their privacy, but you'll be having normal screen names on, in your installation. Let's get started. And normally we're going to wind up by choosing our screen name as the hero, and then we're going to pick a particular player we're interested in. You'll notice as I start typing, the list starts to filter based on the information that I have entered. With both hero and villain selected, we can click start, and that'll generate our graph. Some key points on the graph: the red arrow indicates the low point in the graph. This green arrow indicates the high point. And I mean, normally it's pretty obvious to see, but it just gives you a spot where you could quickly see what the high point and the low point was. If you want to see your total winnings or losses against this player, that'll be over here on the left, and the total number of hands where both of you put money in the pot, that'll be down here on the bottom axis. I normally use this for cash games, but you can also look at how you've done against this particular player in tournaments too. So if you play more tournaments in cash, you'll probably wind up using the tournament feature more. But let's go back to the cash graph. A couple more markings on the graph. You'll notice these red push pins. Whenever I stop to analyze how I'm doing against a player, and I'm going to wind up making changes to how I play against them. So these push pins are indicators of when I did a review and some notes that show what changes I've made. For example, against this player, I had notes on him from another site, so when I realized that, I stopped to review those notes and make some changes against the way I played on him, and then from that point on, it recorded hands until I realized that he wasn't playing exactly like before, so I did another review to make some more changes to how I play against them, and then from that point on, it started recording, and I could see if the changes I made at that point were working or not. So basically, it just, creates a point in time so that you could easily check back and see if, the changes you're making are effective. And right now, let's say we did another review on this player, we could say, I don't know, called 3 bets less out of position, and we're going to be 4 betting a wider value range against this guy. And let's just also say that, we're going to be folding to his turn check raises without a very strong range. Just because, let's assume we realize he doesn't check raise to turn off it, and we're going to be giving up a lot of strong hands in that spot. So once we make that, it puts in a new annotation at the end of the graph. So now as we start playing more hands against this player, we can see if the chart's going up or down from that point. Let's pull up another player. Again, there's another player where I stopped to do a couple reviews. First one didn't take, and the chart continued to go down after that first review, but eventually I started to figure out what he was doing, what I could exploit, what I could stop doing wrong against him, and the chart started going up after that point. And while I'm still down to this guy, I've made up quite a lot of ground against him, and have been continuing to do so. And I could do another review against him, hopefully keep my results the same. But let's say I was gonna do another review of him right now. One thing I find it helpful is to find out how other players are playing against him. To do that, you can click on this Villain's Opponents button. That'll bring up this new window here. This is essentially the same as the versus player report in Hold'em Manager, but for this player, and you could put any player you wanted in this villain field. Click on this button and you'll get their versus player report. I do add some more information here and some summary information like total hands, and this is not total hands we have, but total hands the players won or lost, win percent, winnings, again not factoring rake, big blinds won, big blinds per 100. This isn't the actual win rate of the player, but the win rate against the total number of hands he's won or lost. So it doesn't count hands like that he folded pre-flop without putting any money in the pot. So this number is going to be, inflated compared to his actual win rate, but it does give some sense as to how he's doing. Big pots won or lost, and then how many players he's winning against, losing to, and their percentage. And here we'll see a list of all the players he's played against. And we could sort this by the winnings to see who he's losing a lot of money to. And this guy he's losing a lot of money to. One thing we could see is that he's not winning any big pots against this guy. And he is losing quite a few big pots to him. And even though he's winning a lot of pots, that's just because this guy's giving it up without a very strong hand. And we could double click on this here and see. Now we have our hero as the villain we were using as our villain, as a hero. And the villain is now this guy we selected, and we can see how this guy is matching up against him. If we wanted, we can look through the hands, see what he's doing against him, and then use some of what we see this guy doing in our own game against this guy, since he's obviously doing pretty well against him. And we can pull up some more players, look at their charts, look at their hands, see what we could do. That's pretty much it for now. If you want, you can download a free trial version at www.microrollers.com, and please let me know what you think.